My name is Harper. I'm 24 years old. I work as a nurse at a hospital in Pennsylvania. Because of my job, I witness people at their most vulnerable moments. Pain, panic, and fear are not unfamiliar to me. But I can say this with absolute certainty. What we experienced in that villa was unlike anything I have ever seen in a hospital. I have a younger sister who is 10 years younger than me, Sienna. She's energetic, outgoing, social, and yes, a bit spoiled. Because she's the only child my family had later in life, everyone has always been gentler with her. I was usually the boring older sister, the one who took care of her, set boundaries, and warned her to be careful. One day, my close friend from university, Brielle, called me. I could hear the excitement in her voice before she even said hello. Her boyfriend, Camden, had proposed to her. She wanted to celebrate the news with a small but special getaway. She mentioned a large villa with a pool that belonged to her uncle, about an hour from the city center, located inside a residential complex. It wasn't exactly luxurious, but it was well kept, modern, and isolated. Just a girls' trip to clear our heads, she said, when my mum insisted. Take your sister with you. Sienna was added to the plan. Brielle's friend Paige was also coming, along with Paige's younger sister Marin. Marin was a quiet girl. Unlike Sienna, she didn't talk much, but she constantly observed her surroundings. When we arrived at the villa, it wasn't dark yet. The wide garden, high walls, and the large swimming pool at the center were impressive at first glance. But what truly unsettled me was the silence. There was a complex, yet no children's voices, no neighbors, not even the distant sound of a television. Everything felt too empty. Inside, the house felt cool and slightly cold, as if it had been closed up for a long time. Sienna was excited as she walked around the house, while Marin couldn't take her eyes off the pool. The first day passed without any problems. We swam, played music, ate together. There was some drinking in the evening, but no one lost control. Everything felt normal until midnight. Sienna suddenly went quiet. She set her glass down and stood up. It looked like someone came out of the pool, she said. We all looked at her. Paige laughed, thinking it was a joke. But Sienna wasn't smiling. She walked to the edge of the pool and stared at the water. There was a ripple just now, she said, but no one was swimming. There really was a slight movement on the surface of the water. We brushed it off as the wind. No one wanted to make a big deal out of it at that moment. That night, Sienna asked to sleep in the same room as me. Normally, she would never ask for something like that. Just before dawn, she gently nudged me awake. Harper, she whispered. I was in the pool in my dream. Her eyes were open, but she looked like she was still inside the dream. I was sinking, she said, but I wasn't screaming, because someone was watching me. I asked her what she meant. She didn't answer. She turned her back to me and went silent. The next afternoon, Paige and Marin decided to take a short walk to the empty lot behind the villa. It wasn't far. When they came back 5 minutes later, Marin's face was pale. There was someone there, she said, trembling. Someone was watching us through the glass behind the pool. Brielle snapped. Enough already. Everyone's just scaring each other. But that evening, when we checked the security camera footage, we saw motion detection during hours when no one had entered the pool. There were ripples on the water's surface. The pool was empty as the night went on. Sienna and Maren fell asleep on the couch. The rest of us were sitting in the kitchen when we heard a clear sound of water from outside. This time, all of us heard it. When we rushed into the garden, the pool lights were on, and on the edge of the pool there were 2 handprints, wet, fresh, at that exact moment. Sienna's scream echoed from inside the house. We ran back in. The living room was in disarray. The couch had been moved, but Sienna and Maren were gone. The moment Sienna's scream cut off, something inside me broke. I wanted to scream, to run, to do something, but my body froze for a few seconds. That silence, it was far more terrifying than the scream itself. The living room was in chaos. The couch had been pushed out of place, pillows scattered across the floor. But the doors were locked. The windows were closed. The alarm system was still armed. No one had left the house. Paige was crying uncontrollably. Brielle stood there, frozen like stone. My own gaze kept drifting toward the garden, more precisely, toward the pool. There was a feeling I couldn't explain, as if the answer was there. I ran outside. The pool lights were on. The surface of the water looked calm, but when I looked down, my heart nearly stopped. At the bottom of the pool were 2 dark shapes. I jumped in without even taking off my shoes. It was Sienna and Maren. Both of them were unconscious. Their bodies were cold, their lips turning blue. But this wasn't drowning. It was as if something had held them under the water, and then deliberately let them go. We struggled to pull them out, wrapped them in blankets. While Brielle called an ambulance, I cradled Sienna's head in my lap. A few seconds later, her eyes fluttered open. She looked at me. "Harper," she whispered. "In the pool." We weren't alone. That sentence was the most terrifying thing I heard that night. The ambulance and police arrived quickly. The area was secured. Sienna and Maren were taken to the hospital. We stayed behind at the villa to give our statements. When the police reviewed the security footage, a strange silence fell over the room. On the pool camera, while Sienna and Maren were underwater, a third silhouette was visible. It wasn't clear, but it had a human shape. It wasn't moving. It wasn't swimming or coming up. It was just there. One officer suggested it might be a camera reflection, but even his voice didn't sound convinced. The next day, the villa's history was investigated. Years earlier, a family had lived in that house. Their young daughter had drowned in the same pool late at night. The case had been closed as an accident. Shortly afterward, the family had abandoned the villa, but there was one detail in the file that caught my attention. Weeks before the incident, a neighbor had made a report saying, "At night, it sounds like someone is coming out of the pool. But when I look into the garden, I don't see anyone." The age of that girl who died was the same age as Maureen. We left the villa in a rush. Brielle left the key on the table and pulled the door shut. No one looked back. Sienna didn't speak for weeks. She couldn't even lock the bathroom door. Maren woke up at night holding her breath, mumbling, "Someone is under the water." And I realized something I know well as a nurse. Drowning is a silent process. You can't scream, you just look, and sometimes someone looks with you. Months later, Sienna said something to me. "Harper, there was nothing pulling me under the water, but there was something stopping me from coming up." After that villa, I never set foot in a house with a pool again, because some places don't scare you, they don't chase you, they don't hurt you, they just remember you, and when the time comes, they quietly remind you that you were never alone. Thank you for listening to this story until the very end. If this video affected you, don't forget to support the channel by liking it. For more dark and realistic stories like this, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. See you in the next story.